My 3 top skills that will help you stay relevant and stand out in this rapidly evolving industry. So as a bit of context, I was having a chat with my colleague Lewis, who is an osteopath and a movement specialist and a CrossFit coach, and we were talking about the future of the industry. And it's a topic that keeps coming up again and again with everybody I speak to. And I think the obvious trend is how everything is becoming more and more interconnected. Gone are the days where you see somebody just for rehab, or you see somebody else just for personal training, and you see somebody else for CrossFit coaching. People understand that the human body works the same in all of these distinct, or previously thought of as distinct, areas. So the principles of adaptation apply whether somebody has just been injured or whether somebody's just trying to squeeze out the last 0.1% of elite performance. So we can see this in other fields like medicine, where functional medicine is gathering a lot of steam, where people realize that we shouldn't just think about things like symptom medicine. The reality is all the systems of the body are interconnected. They affect each other. So the root cause of somebody's health concerns might not be just the symptoms. And, chronic disease is one of the big areas that gets talked about in this way a lot, where things like autoimmune conditions, gut issues, skin sensitivities, brain fog, these types of things, they're usually multifactorial. And looking at one discipline, to say somebody has a skin condition, they go and see a dermatologist, they give them some cream, but the skin condition might be arising due to some autoimmune issues or dietary GI tract things. So it's a bit of a tangent, but the point I'm trying to make is that we are seeing the same pattern in injury, rehab, movement, training, in that somebody's problem that we're trying to help them with is very rarely limited to one discrete field. So using an A equals B methodology just doesn't cut it anymore. So what we're seeing, and the people who are getting the best results nowadays, they exhibit 3 key skills that set them apart from the classic physio, osteo, chiro with a standard treatment practice who just does things as they were taught in university. The first one is doing a comprehensive assessment. So all too often in a standard appointment, it'll be a very quick form, just fill out what your issue is, 5 minutes of chat, and then straight into treating the issue, which most people kind of expect nowadays. However, this doesn't give the specialist a chance to understand why this individual is experiencing the symptoms they're experiencing at this time. There's no opportunity to do a root cause analysis to understand, how's the training changed? What are their habits and tendencies? Do they work a job which requires them to be in a very asymmetrical position for long periods of time? And this consultation we see is crucial for really getting to understand the big picture, why they're in the treatment room with you today, rather than just the bare bones of this is what's going on. I've got the minimum necessary information to decide what treatment I'm going to give them or where I'm going to treat them. And as we learn more about biomechanics, movement mechanics, and the mechanisms of injury, we realize that there's compensation patterns and imbalances. They can refer issues to other areas of the body, which mean that just dealing with the symptoms is often just buying time before it reoccurs. So that's number one. The second one is the best specialists tend to put the ownership onto the client to take responsibility for their results. And what do I mean by this? Yes, your treatment will make them feel better and they should leave the room feeling some improvement, and we know it can aid the healing process. But for any sort of injury that's got a biomechanical root cause, the training, the exercises that they do are the key to making long-lasting change. And I always say you can't do their reps for them. They have to teach their body through doing the exercises themselves. So the best specialists tend to spend a bit more time educating their clients and patients as to what this process looks like, what the science is in, just whatever level of detail is necessary for that person. The science is on how you improve motor patterns, how you improve skills, and basically getting them to buy in to doing their homework, which is actually what's going to get them results in the long term. Number 3 is bridging the gap. So traditional therapy can leave a huge space between acute rehab and full training or sport. And very often we see clients or patients discharged to just jump straight back in where they left off when they got injured. And usually they've had a bit of time away, so they've become deconditioned, but also they haven't necessarily addressed the underlying mechanical reasons for why they got injured in the first place. So if nothing's changed, then we expect to see the same thing reoccur once the appropriate amount of workload has been done by that individual in their sport. So the classic advice of build up slowly there's obviously some truth in that, but it's often so vague that people don't do anything about it. And, they might, what one person perceives as taking it easy is, maybe 95% to somebody else. So what we need to do as therapists, if we're looking to bridge that gap, we want to know, first of all, where they want to get to. A lot of treatments don't ask the question of where are we going? How high of a level do you want to compete at? Are you looking to lift really heavy weights? Are you looking to run ultra marathons? Do you want to compete in CrossFit? Whatever it might be, because wherever that destination is will dictate what the stepping stones to get there are. And obviously we know the principle of progressive overload. We don't want to ask the body to adapt too much too soon. So by putting in small stepping stones, we can bridge that gap in a steady, progressive, meaningful way that we can be sure that we're going to get them from A to B without asking too much too soon from the body, which is obviously a recipe for reoccurring injuries and flare-ups of previous issues. I think most people appreciate the crazy spikes in volume and poor load management are a big part of why injuries happen in the first place. But just because you get somebody pain-free, it doesn't necessarily mean they are moving well enough to jump back into the volume and intensity that they were doing previously. So the best people we see doing this tend to have a better understanding of strength and conditioning, so that post-rehab, they can advise them on how they might put in some checkpoints to say, at this point, you're ready to go to this progression. At that point, you're ready to increase that volume or use this load. And that just gives you a much higher degree of certainty that somebody's going to come out of their rehab journey much more prepared to do the things that they want to do without the injury reoccurring. So those are the 3 things. 1, a comprehensive assessment. 2, putting ownership on the client. 3, bridging the gap. And if you found this helpful, we have a growing army of physios, osteos, and chiros who, I don't think it's an understatement to say they're changing the game with this hybrid approach of treatment and training. Some of them have actually stopped doing their traditional therapy overall in favor of this combined approach because it gets way better results for their patients, especially if they're working with patients and clients that like to train or do sport. And they've also created systems and offers that earn them more money at the same time. So if you're interested in learning more, please drop me a DM with the word notify, and I'll send you the relevant information and we can discuss whether it might fit into your business. Thank you for your time, guys. I hope you're having a great day, and I'll speak to you soon.